All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
It's the brother Kalaya.
Brother Ra'aya.
All right, coming at you with a quick lesson. All right, prior to getting started, we like to give all glory, honors, and prayers unto
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakwadash.
double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, and pretty much the premise of this lesson is going to go into this the possibility of a third government shutdown, okay, which you know, brothers and sisters that have been diligent in the spirit and paying attention to things, you should know that it's a, what was it, a 76% chance, I believe so, a 76% chance that we might go into another government shutdown coming up, man, this Friday, right? So without any further ado, I'll get the brother to grab some key points from this article, and then we'll proceed with the lesson.
And this is an article from Politico.com titled, Capital Agenda, No Shutdown Deal in Sight. Democrats are demanding changes to DHS, which stands for Department of Homeland Security, funding bill. Republicans are reluctant to engage. Senators are scrambling to avoid a partial government shutdown later this week after Saturday's fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by a federal agent has members of both parties debating what guardrails they can place on President Nero 47's immigration enforcement agenda. There's no deal in sight. The Homeland Security Appropriations Measure is part of a multi-bill funding package the House sent over to the Senate last Thursday before leaving town for recess, and which the Senate now must clear before 12:01 a.m. Saturday, January 31st, or spark funding lapses across multiple agencies. Making changes to any portion of that package at this point would jeopardize its chances for being signed into law in time.
And, you know, ultimately, this stalemate has stemmed from these recent events that have been going on with ICE. Right now, ICE is I believe the most funded alphabet organization that's tied to the government right now, man. All right, and obviously, you know, if you've been paying attention, you see what they've been doing. Okay, they've been making people expire in rapid successions, man. You see, they've been so-called how could I say, arresting people inhumanely, right, using all sorts of trickery, things of that nature. And these Democrats, they're not going for it. All right, so there's a stalemate with this bill being passed, man. All right, and you know, ultimately, this lesson it stemmed from, you know, a lesson I went into with a couple brothers on a call we do on Mondays, dealing with the money, right, and how that ties into, you know, what the collapse of America, right? Because that's ultimately what it is. When a dollar collapses, man, is pretty much over with, man. All right, this place is already about to belly up, but that'll be the final nail in the coffin, man. All right.
The dollar, it really is the confidence in the U.S. dollar is the only thing that's, you know, keeping it with any value, because over these last couple of years, you know, the dollar, the petrodollar, the FRN has been taking several major blows. I think it was back in 2024, Saudi Arabia decided not to renew the exclusivity of selling their oil in dollars, which was the petrodollar deal. So now, you know, they can, you know, sell their oil in Chinese yuan, the euro, the ruble, other things. And then, of course, you know, with all these, especially that stimulation money from 2019 to 2021 that led to printing more dollars, which led to the decrease in the value. You've got nations, you know, starting to sell their treasury bonds, which is, you know, them holding U.S. debt, which means the U.S. can print more dollars because other nations are willing to buy them up. They're sending that back, causing the, you know, the Federal Reserve to have to buy its own debt back, which is, you know, cannibalizing itself, further eroding the value. And then you know, the prices of gold and silver just keep increasing. Why? Because the value of the dollar is decreasing. I think silver just recently broke $100.
That's right.
And I think gold per ounce, you know, broke about, you know, $5,000 an ounce, which is an insane thing to think about. But these are all just indicative of what? That this, you know, Federal Reserve note, this fiat currency isn't real money out here. It's really just a pledge built off of confidence, and people are losing confidence of it, you know, globally. And when these American citizens really see it, you know, that's just going to further accelerate things out here.
Yeah, and I just want to say that was the premise of the lesson, you know, brothers went into last night over the conference call, the understanding of what real money is, all right? When you truly, Salaki,
you good?
When you truly understand that the this FRN, all right, the dollar, okay, the actual tangible dollar that you see has no significant value at all right? Basically, you start to understand that you've been involved in a trick. You've been tricked. You see? All right? Real money is within, you know, gold and silver, soft metals, and, you know, assets, man. Right? Actual, what we went into, cattle and, you know, different things of that nature. Right?
And, you know, with the dollar, you know, really, when you look at it, it was just an IOU note.
That's
like,
right.
People, when the dollar was pegged to gold and silver, you know, back in the early 1900s, it was like, I have so many dollars and I just go trade in these dollars to get however much gold and silver, you know, I had in the bank. But then they took the U.S. over, you know, I think it was, don't quote me on it, I think it might have been FDR that took the U.S. off the gold standard, and Nixon that took the U.S. off the silver standard, leading to the petrodollar system, to where the value of the dollar was pegged to oil. But again, you know, Saudi Arabia decided not to renew that program. So again, it's just confidence that's really holding up, you know, right, the value of the dollar right now, showing that it is what it is in your hand, just a piece of paper.
Kind of, we saw that same thing happen to whom? Multiple countries, but the one I remember the most was Venezuela, man. They had actual, you know how Jake be on the rap videos with the money, and they had actual stacks of money, right? Their money, their currency, just lying out in the streets, man. Using it as bonfire, man. You know, it was worth nothing. Their government had actually collapsed. You see? But let's get some precepts to back that up. This you can grab it, Oxalakin. Ecclesiastes 12:3.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened.
That's right, man. And when you go into that, and I'm gonna get you to go to 4 as well, but when you go into that word, keepers of the house, right, that goes into the economists, man. All right, those that keep the house, they watch for the, you know, the house, man. All right, your different senates and government officials, okay, the treasurer, people
Federal Reserve.
That's right, man.
People on Wall Street.
These are the people who are actually watching the basically the lifeline of America. Okay, they tend to it. All right.
And you had the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. He's been saying a lot of, you know, not wild, but realistic stuff out here, saying, look, you might want to invest in, you know, guns and bullets and gold. Because
that's what Slacky. Go ahead.
To, you know, the average person, they would think that's some wild thing to say, but you were about to say that's a wise thing to say, because those are tangible assets. Guns, which obviously have their uses, gold, going into the premise of this lesson, physical money, and what, beans, you know, food, pretty much saying, you know, currency, hard assets, food, and then the means to defend it so other people don't take it. And he was saying you're going to need that because, hey, people are going to start coming at each other and putting each other down. That's what he was saying in so many words. But he would be considered one of the keepers of the house.
And that's a big thing coming from a keeper of the house, man. All right, the keeper of the house is a person that knows all the ins and outs of the house, okay? 9 times out of 10, when you look at these different mansions, things of that nature. The one that knows that place the most is the person that keeps that house up. You see, so putting that in terms with dealing with a full-on society, right? He can foresee, all right, the things that are coming, right? You know, your average Joe, even people who are at the top, man, you know, the rich and things of that nature, they don't really see what's happening, right? Obviously, I'm not talking about the elites because they putting things in place, right? But nevertheless, you know, guys that have these different mansions and, you know, places like that, they don't know what's coming, man. They have an inclination, but a guy like that saying something like that, that's big, right? And the Lord gave us the spirit, okay, to catch wind of that, all right, and understand the times we living in, man. That's why the scriptures tell you, you know, majority of these people will be taken as a thief in the night. You know, they're not going to see it coming.
And with how bad things are getting, it just says in the scriptures, they shall cast their gold and silver in the streets. Ultimately, you know, these physical things aren't going to be what's going to save you. It's going to be your relationship with Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So don't forget that.
And I'm going to get you we're going to probably end on that, Isaiah 33:6. Because that word treasure goes into gold and silver, man. But you could go down to 4. Oh, Salaki, I want to say this too. It says, and the grinders cease because there are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. I basically going into this job market, man. All right, these jobs, a lot of jobs are laying people off. All right, and if they haven't started in your area, they will. Okay, because what happened this last past government shutdown? All right, a lot of government officials, all right, a lot of government jobs, right? They shut down. They couldn't work. They weren't getting paid. So a lot of them walked off, all right, different sites and, you know, things of that nature. Okay, for all we know, this could be the last shutdown. You just never know, man.
Mm-hmm.
But that, you know, going into the windows being darkened, if you have a business and your windows are dark, that's going into it being closed, man. All right. But
and windows being darkened goes into you know, people looking out. Like, say you looking out on the horizon and all you see is bad weather. There's people looking out to the future of this country and not seeing anything good, which goes back to, you know, the keepers of the house, these higher up people, and even, you know, your people, you know, I'll call them your YouTube economists. You got a guy named Jeremiah Babe, who's real big into, you know, the things that are going on, and another guy, Gerald Salente, who they've been sounded the alarm. They've been saying, look, the party's over. There's no coming back. Where America's at right now, there's no coming back from it. So you might as well do what you can to, you know, position yourself in a good spot. But for people that are just starting out to do it, hey, it's too late for you. It's as simple as that. We've been telling you for years of these things. But going back to what the brother was saying earlier, you know, you got a lot of people out here that didn't take heed to it. You know, even, you know, people that are living nice, because what it comes down to is having access to information.
Yep. Like
your Jamie Dimons, your Warren Buffetts, those that are really juiced in, they get information directly from the top, from the elites. Right. So that's when you see them move accordingly. Selling off stocks, selling off companies, you know, selling off treasury holdings, you know, buying property outside of the country, things like that. Bunkers. Mm-hmm. You know, you got a bunch of these tech people like your Mark Zuckerbergs and whatever, buying and building bunkers outside of America. Why? Because they see what's coming and they're trembling about it. And just to back up what you were saying about the job losses, before you pulled up, I was reading an article saying this year, I think within this month, UPS is planning on cutting 30,000 workers.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, you know, these different what the proper term would be, technocrats.
I don't know. That's what they are, technocrats. But, you know, for the layman, it'd be like, oh, you know, a tech mogul, a mogul or some shit like that.
Whatever, but those guys, you know, they've been building, you know, by these different companies like, what is it, Boston Dynamics and different, you know, tech engineering companies. What robots to take your place, man?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
With the Tesla, but the Optimus bot. Palantir, Oracle, the AI that's gonna, monitor everybody's, speech and what they're putting online. And then, the surveillance, and then the security, the robots to come handle business.
That's actually patrolling. I believe they have some over in California. I've been seeing some of them. You know how we have the little lights down here that flash blue and red. They go around and they patrol, man. So that there won't be a need for your local police officer. Things of that nature, man. But you can get first, fool.
Kind. And the doors, Ecclesiastes 12:4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low.
The doors shall be shut in the streets. All right, all of these businesses shutting down. I don't know how it's looking now, but I could assume, downtown where we were bringing it out at, at one point in time, right before, you want to say something?
That Foot Locker that we used to bring out is closed.
It's closed. And Foot Locker is a staple, all right, in any major metropolitan, all right, because you're going to have Jakes in that area, in those metropolitans, and Jake can't survive without Jordans, so that's big, that's heavy. I haven't been around there in a while.
Rubenstein's, I don't know if they're closing or they're facing closure, but they damn near there. And Rubenstein's has been a staple in New Orleans since like the 30s or some shit, where people go and buy nice suits and nice clothing.
Right.
So a lot of these major businesses, you're shutting down.
God.
The sound of the grinding being low.
And, a little insider, what he said, stranded on a...
Stranded, damn it.
But, hey, that's a sign too. That shit was mega ass. These different, rappers and singers, they're not producing actual music no more, man. It's mumbo jumbo, shit to make your ears start bleeding, man.
Hey, that goes, the daughters of music being brought low. Whether you are a known daughter of music or you are unknown lummox.
But that's heavy because, at one point in time in a so-called black community, right, in any community, dealing with the tribes, you had actual music being produced, whether it was on a major level or, some underground shit. You don't even have that anymore. Right? That shit is gone. That shit is expired. Is gone, man. It's deceased. But
for you too.
You can bring it up.
Kind. This is Zephaniah chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 10. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Fish gate goes into what? Major place of commerce.
That's right.
And, looking at it in the spirit, fishing is by water. And what's America mainly known for? Being an import nation through the East Coast and the West Coast. And as I said, a crashing from the hills, talking about what those stock market crashes,
right?
Which, that's constantly in flux. They're hanging on by a prayer. You hear some bad news, like a government shutdown, a looming government shutdown that causes some stocks to go low. But then at the last minute, they may say, oh, we may have found a deal. It shoots up just a little bit, just for, if the government shutdown does go through, for it to just go down. But when, as we started off with talking about that US dollar, when it's truly seen to be as worthless as it is, you're going to see a complete stock market crash. We're going to go into it, which are in a state of inflation right now. We're going to go into a state of hyperinflation to where you're going to need $1,000 to buy a roll of toilet paper. And when people see that, that's as Gerald Celente said, when people have nothing left to lose, they lose it. Verse 11, How ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, the doors being shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding or working is low. All they that bear silver are cut off.
Yeah, hey, that's heavy, man. All day that bear silver is cut off. All right? Hey, it's like this brother said, man, it's going to get to a point to where people just utterly lose it, right? And I believe that's in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. But, you know, ultimately you're going to have friends fighting against friends. You're going to have cannibalism coming back into style, right? A whole bunch of home invasions, death, the whole nine, all right? What you see in these different apocalyptic movies were not, you know, shown to you just for entertainment purposes. These was a foreshadowing of what's to come, all right, here in America, all right? These things have happened in other countries, you know, following a government shutdown, right? Following the collapse of a full-on government, you know? But
another thing too, real quick, where it says, "And they that bear silver shall be cut off." You know, as it says in the scriptures, you know, they shall cast their gold and silver in the streets. You know, holding, you know, if you got some gold and silver, if you got some gold and silver, hey, that's a good thing. We're not advising you against having, you know, some of it, but there's eventually going to come to a point where even that's not going to matter, because what's going to be more important, a couple of ounces of silver, or, you know, a few cans of beans? You can't eat silver. And then the brother Amawan Gabar was making a beautiful point in the video. You know, it's going to get to the point to where, you know, the price of these things are going to get so high of gold and silver that these different dealers you go to get it from, they won't be able to sell it because people just won't have anything to buy it with.
Yep. No, that's heavy. You know, and ultimately everything gonna burn up on this side anyway. So, you know, all of this talk about after, you know, the so-called, you know, apocalypse, right? After when the nukes hit, after, you know, when America has been destroyed, they believe that they're going to be able to use that same gold and, you know, they're going to survive in these different bunkers. It really wouldn't matter if you hoarded all the gold, you know, that this place accumulated. It just wouldn't matter, right? It's just all going to be burnt up, you know?
God.
But I wanted to grab this for you since you was mentioning it. Did you bring it out, Zephaniah 1:18?
No.
This Zephaniah 1:18, it says, damn, I might jump up to verse 16. It says, "A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung."
Hey, that great destruction, you know, coming against these people. Now, if you read up in verse 50, you should start at 14.
I might as well, yeah. Jumping back to 14, Zephaniah 1:14, it says, "The great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasted greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry bitterly."
The mighty man shall cry bitterly. Those that are in the tops of society, you know, all the way to the lowest man in society. It's going to be, you know, pain felt at every level.
Verse 15, it says, "That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of waste and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, Salakia, and a day of clouds and thick darkness." So contrary to what, you know, the Christian churches, you know, whomever may say the day of the Lord will be, man, it's full on contrary. Okay, this is a day of great pain, distress, and gloominess, man. 16, I'm gonna read it through. It says, "A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers," right? And ultimately, you know, that's what we're doing, man. We're blowing the trumpet, okay? Isaiah the 34th chapter and 1, it tell you, you know, we're supposed to be, you know, sounding that alarm to all these nations, right? That the day of the Lord and the Lord's indignation is against them, right? Even 2/3 of our own people. And that's what we're doing. Verse 17, it says, "And I will bring distress upon men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung."
And being spiritually blind and deaf, you know, as it says in Isaiah 24, there be a crying for wine in the streets.
That's right.
A crying for understanding. Well, hey, that trumpet's being blown right now, but only those of the elect are going to hear this message and take heed to it. As for, 2/3 of our people and you heathens, which have no goddamn chance, hey, it's, the only answer you're going to receive is that death by pain. As I said, their blood shall be poured out as dust and their flesh as the dung.
Just being left out on the streets, man. Just dead, Oh, this is the point that I wanted to get. Verse 18, it says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land.
Because it's gonna, like we've been saying throughout the video, it's just gonna get a point to where gold and silver isn't gonna matter. What's gonna matter is people getting food to survive and things like that. But even on top of all that, that's not going to matter, because what did it say? The whole land is eventually going to be consumed by the fire of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai's jealousy. Those nuclear missiles hitting this place and burning up everything in it. The food, the gold, the silver, the animals, the people, the buildings, everything.
Everything. You had anything else, bro? I know we had some other ones.
You had
I probably won't end on this one.
Let me think. Yeah, I got one more, and then this is because this is what all these things are leading to. Revelation chapter 6. I'm gonna start at verse 5, and it's going into the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which are just symbolic of things that would be taking place in the last days. And this is going into that black horse. And when he had opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when you go into that word penny, it's denarion,
yep,
which goes back to the denarius, which was the chief principal, coin of the Roman Empire. And what happened with the denarius is that it got devalued. Instead of being a purely silver coin, they started to cut it with copper and other baser metals, which you needed more denariuses to buy, either the same amount or a decreasing amount of goods. Relating that to now, the devaluation of the US dollar, right. Inflation, eventually leading to hyperinflation, to where 3 measures of wheat for a penny, 4 measures of barley for a penny, using your entire paycheck to be able to buy maybe a loaf of bread. So we're talking things that went from being $8 to being hundreds of dollars. People's minds are going to snap when they see something like that take place.
And if you think, the brother, is bullshitting, you think we bullshitting, man, go do your research and look at the things of the ancient, all right? Look at the things of old, man, all right? Look at the Great Depression, okay?
Look at something called the Weimar Republic in Germany, which was in the 1920s, after World War II, after World War I, and, right before World War II, the H-Man and the Nazis came into power due to the Weimar Republic, because they were going through a case of hyperinflation. You have accounts to where they said people were rolling around wheelbarrows full of German, Deutschmarks, which would have been their dollar, just to get a loaf of bread. And they were saying literally, you could go to the store and the price would be one thing, and by the time you got back home or got your paycheck, the price had already changed just like that.
Yeah, so these things are very real, man. They come into a store near you, But, really, we could get the 2nd Ezra 6 and 22, and we could just get up through that.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty.
Real quick, all right? Because it's a lot of components that go into a shutdown or a collapse of a especially a major a society like Babylon the Great, man, like America. All right, you're gonna see a slack in the, you know, what do you call it, the trucking force, right? These people that are bringing the goods to and fro these different stores, whether they big small mom and pop shops, all right, they're gonna decrease. All right, that business is gonna go, and once they go, that's ultimately like the veins of this place. That's your lifeline, man. All right, the average store only has about 2 to 3 days worth of food. All right, that's why you always see these different trucks every so often, right, bringing produce, man. All right, and different products. Okay, just because it's big, you got to remember that. All right, these stores are constantly being filled and depleted simultaneously, man. All right, but you know, these storehouses are gonna be found empty from that, and also once it gets to a point like this brother said, you know, thousands of dollars for a loaf of bread, these people will go in there and take, man. All right, they're gonna go in and actually take these things. You see them taking now, and shit still is relatively cheap. Over in I forget, I believe it's California, they changed the law to, you know, a certain amount of theft, you don't go to jail or some shit like that. I forget the exact terminology, but out there, theft is allowed, man. All right, they were stealing so much, they, you know, it's almost legal, right? Don't quote me on it, but it's almost legal. You see? You can keep going.
Verse 23, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run.
That's right, man. You know, hey, friends, in this time, friends that you grew up with, right, from grade school, right, elementary, live next door to, college, you know, graduates, all of those sorts of things, right, family, friends, those things will just become a title now, right, in that time. You're going to be thinking about, my family has to eat, all right, not did old Jeffrey from up the block, I wonder if he ate. No, you're going to actually, these people are going to go inside Jeffrey's house, man, you know, and take from him. And possibly, you know, make him expire. You know, a lot of expiration going to happen due to this fact here. All right, for the want of bread. All right, for the want of water. Okay, for security. You see, for housing. But you want to say something?
I can get you one more just to back up that second Esdras.
You got it.
This is second Esdras 15 and 19, which goes into further detail to show why friends, you know, best friends that used to barbecue with each other, go to each kid's, you know, football game, would fight against each other like bitter enemies. This is second Esdras 15 and 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
That's right, man. All right, Esau, Edom, all right, the elites, they're gonna disturb the flow of money. Okay, they're gonna disturb that, right? So much so, which I brought it out last night. You know, their whole intent is to break the dollar all the way down. All right, this is not some spontaneous event. No, this was actually something that has been planned out for decades, man, for centuries. Okay, ultimately to do what? To bring forth the NWO. All right. This devil is actually going to disturb this thing and bring great tribulation unto the people, man. All right. And these people have been basically breastfed lies, right? And wickedness. You see? So once the titty gone, it's over with, huh? They're going to be like an actual baby crying out, man, once the breast is removed. But let me see.
I got one to back up what you just said.
And real quick before you grab it, back in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, when it tell you iniquity shall wax cold, all right, when you go into that word, I believe it's wax cold, I believe it goes into psycho.
Mm-hmm.
All right, these people are gonna go psycho. All right, that's where that word derived from. You see, they're gonna actually be all fucked up in the mind, man. All right, because this thing is gonna catch them so off guard. It's gonna be like at the snap of a finger, it's gonna go to shit. All right. And these people won't know how to compute that. Their brain will not be able to catch up to what's actually going on in real life, and drastic measures will start to get taken, man. You got it, Doc.
That dog-eat-dog mentality.
That's right.
And also going back to that, full storehouses suddenly being found empty and the sown places appearing unsown. Look at what happened with that last government shutdown, last year. Even though it came out that a lot of those videos were AI, you had a lot of, so-called black women or whatever saying, if I can't get my money for SNAP or these different benefits, I'm going to go raid the stores. Now, imagine if with this shutdown coming up, or the things we know that are coming down the pipeline regardless, get to the point to where people just aren't getting any of those benefits. They're going to raid the storehouses. Storehouses are going to be made empty. It's going to get to the point to where, these truck drivers aren't going to be bringing in stuff, because I remember during, I don't know if it was during the C-19, but it was during one of these incidences, those truckers were getting raided. People were taking goods off of there. So they're not going to be driving. And then, with the sown places appeared unsown, a lot of those farmers get what? Aid and different subsidies from the government. So if a shutdown hits that and they're not able to work, there's not going to be any planting. There's not going to be any sowing taking place. Crops are literally going to rot in the field, which we've been seeing with what? These ice raids.
Yep.
A lot of those Northern Kingdom haven't been going to the fields, so farmers are just feeling the pain. Babylon is feeling pain at all levels. It's literally at that point to where you just need that one last match to get lit to blow this whole thing up.
That's right, huh?
But to back up what you said about how, these elites are the ones that are, have been planning for decades to, crash this dollar and, put that squeeze on you people. This is Isaiah 32:5. The vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. Because like you were saying, a lot of Americans out here were living off the government teat with these benefits. So when these elites give the orders down to, their puppets to cut it off, hey, they're no longer going to be called bountiful or, liberal. They're going to put the squeeze on you people, and you people are going to suffer out here and look for anything to relieve that pain, which, what are they going to bring as the solution? That's CHIP. That's the end goal of everything we're seeing right now. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, Jake, you finna see the horns of the devil. You're going to actually see the horns of the devil, man. He's going to actually start looking like the devil that the Bible speaks of. Not physically, but through his actions, man. All right? Because his actions have been hidden by lies. But the lies are being dried up now. All right? And all he can do is be himself at this point.
You know that he hath but a short time, so he moving.
He moving.
He about to fire on all cylinders.
And I'm going to end it off with this one. Isaiah 33:6, since we right there. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. And that's ultimately the currency in which we deal in, man. The fear of the Lord, the different treasures in which we store up in the heavens. Okay, these very same acts which you see brothers doing on camera, going out to the block, making their bodies a living sacrifice. These are the things in which, will get us through those times, right? That's the purpose we doing these things for, man. You got you something?
Kind of
you got it.
Just to back that up. Yeah, we'll close it on. You can just when the spirit gets rolling,
it just gotta go.
It just keeps going.
You just gotta do it.
But you might know where it's at in Proverbs. It says, "I count your wisdom more precious than rubies."
Yeah. We brought that out last night. That's in 3. It's 3 and look around 6.
Con.
I tell you right now, it's 3 and 14.
Con.
Slakia.
Because, you know, as a brother brought out, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is going to be the stability of our times. As a brother brought out in that Zephaniah, you know, their gold and silver is not going to matter to them. And it says in Ezekiel that they're going to cast it into the streets.
That's right.
Because what? You aren't going to get out of this by tangible means. You're going to have to get out of it by spiritual means, relying on that spiritual gold and silver. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
And real quick, that word treasure, when you go into the blue letter and back in Isaiah 33:6, it goes into gold and silver, man. All right. Basically, like this brother said, that spiritual gold and silver.
God. This is Proverbs 3:14. For the merchandise of, I'll start at 13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all things that thou canst desire not to be compared unto her. Because what does it say in Matthew? You know, set up your treasures in heaven. Because if you set them up on this earth, what? The moth and rust doth corrupt them, and the thief will come in and steal it. Anything you're holding, you know, can, and for a lot of you will be taken away from you. But as long as Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai keeps that spirit on you, hey, you have that elect number, you're gonna make it through.
Yeah, that's it, bro. I'll start looking for some more shit.
You're looking a little strained over there.
I was looking for
Damn it.
Damn it.
But you can close down.
Yeah, no, you know, Lord willing, man, this lesson was edifying. All right. First and foremost to the hopeful elect, and then those that cleave unto the body. All right, before we get out of here, we like to give all glory, honors, and prayers unto
Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakak Wadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.
Shalom.
And the Baba Ball.
Baba Ball.
Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.